All right, today we're going to talk about how to winterize a two-stroke jet ski. All right, with the hood open, I'm going to take a look at the gas tank and try to get a gauge at how much gas is in there. It'll tell you on top of the tank, on this tag, how big of a tank it is. 10 US gallons. I may be a quarter full, so 2.5 gallons. First thing we're going to do is put stable in the gas. And they make marine stable as well. I would recommend that. This is what I have, so this is what I'm using right now. If you look on the back, this big thing treats up to 80 gallons. If you read on the back, 1 ounce treats up to 2.5 gallons. So I'm guessing about 2.5 gallons in there. I'm going to overshoot it a little bit. So how these work is you just pinch right here, and the pressure, because the cap is on here, pushes the fluid up into here, and so you can measure out 1 ounce right there. So that should treat my 2.5 gallons. And I'm gonna shoot another ounce just for good measure. I'll make sure it gets all the way down into the tank. With stable in the gas, we're gonna start the engine up, let it warm up. Unlike an outboard boat motor, you can run these out of the water, but you just don't want them to get too hot. So if you feel on the side of the engine right here, as it's running, you just don't want the head and the cylinders to get too hot. When they get like hot to touch, then you're definitely going to want to shut it down. But to start it up and let it idle for 30 seconds is not going to hurt anything. Just keep an eye on it. You don't want it to get too hot. So I'm going to start it up, and that should pull the, I'm actually going to try to kind of shake the jet ski back and forth and mix up that stable a little bit. And then as I'm running it, I'm warming up the engine, preparing to fog the engine, and I am sucking that stable into the carburetors. So here we go. So while that warms up, what I'm going to do to fog the bottom end of the engine is I'm going to take my fogging oil while the engine is idling and spray it directly down into the carburetor. You can see I have the flame arrestor, or the airbox cover, if you will, taken off the carburetor, and the screen taken out so I can get a direct shot down into the carburetor. I have 2 carburetors. You can do it with 1 and just kind of go back and forth. I have 2 cans of stable. Again, they make marine fogging oil, and I would recommend that because it does a better job coating, and it has some other additives in it for marine applications. But I just have regular fogging oil, so that's what we're going to spray in there. And as it sprays in there, it's going to stall out the engine, and that's exactly what you want. You want it to stall out the engine. So just douse it right in there and stall out the engine, and then I'm going to spray a little extra in for good measure. And then the next thing is going to be pull the spark plugs. So that gets sucked into the bottom of the engine, coats your crankshaft and your bearings. So next I will grab a plug wrench, pop the spark plugs out, and then I'm going to take the fogging oil and spray it down in each one of the cylinders. So this coats the top end of the engine with fogging oil. So we've got fogging oil down the top end of the engine, sucked into the bottom end. The engine is now fogged. We have stable, which we mixed with our gas, pulled throughout the engine. We're almost done. All right, so the engine is good to go. All right, so the engine is warm right now, and if you have good weather, I would recommend leaving the hood open, especially on a sunny day or if there's a little bit of a breeze, to let the engine cool off, completely dry out so there's no condensation or moisture in there. And then also, if you have any hull drains, like down here, make sure these are open to drain the water out, especially if you can tip your trailer back to help all that water drain out for the winter. And then the last thing, which I didn't really mention, but make sure you blip the throttle really hard a couple times. I mean, not really hard, but blip the throttle to cough out any water that's in your exhaust. If there's a little bit of water in there, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's just going to freeze. But your exhaust has water that runs through it to help keep it cool right here. There can be a little bit of water built up in there. Blipping the throttle helps cough all that water out so it's not sitting in your exhaust when it freezes for the winter. And the very last thing I do is pull the battery out and store it inside for the winter. One thing is it's going to smoke a lot when you start it up in the spring because of all that fogging oil in the engine. One last thing I forgot to mention. After I get everything fogged in the engine, I like to not start the engine again, but just touch the start button to kick the engine over like one time or 1 or 2 revolutions, just to kick that fogging oil around, splash it around in there, make sure it coats everything really nice. I pulled the battery out of this ski already. I'll do it next year, but I like to do that just as a little extra precaution. It makes me feel like I'm coating the inside better. So. And another thing that I just remembered, it's not a bad idea to stuff mothballs or rat poison in the engine compartment. Depends on where you're storing it. And also, like on this jet ski, the air intake is right here, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to stuff steel wool in there so that the mice can't get in. Also, your exhaust pipes, where your exhaust comes out, it's not a bad idea to stuff steel wool in there. I don't always do it, but I have had issues with mice and red squirrels inside jet skis, and it's not fun. So better to take the extra time to just try to keep them out. Anyway, this is the last time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.